Welcome back to Design Connect 21. Our next speaker is interior designer Jennifer Jones, who will be speaking on finding our way forward. Jennifer will look at the challenges that our local design industry have faced in the past 18 months and share her views on how the design industry, about which she is so passionate, can embrace the changes and see opportunities for growth in a changing world. We are so proud to say that Jennifer Jones started her own interior decorating and design business in August 2001 and is now celebrating her 20-year anniversary. She started a business at the age of 29 after successfully launching Jennifer Jones Interiors at Decorex in 2001. Her brand has just gone from strength to strength. Known for creating her really unique custom designed interiors using interesting design elements, each interior gains its own distinct character, and we just love her colorful, vibrant character. Over to you, Jen.
Morning, how are you? You've seen me monkeying around on the other side of the screen.
Well, yourself.
Fine, thanks.
You look amazing. Thank you for
We've been having
joining.
fun monkeying around on the other side here. So do I just start? Am I now on stage? This is a very, very new experience for me. So good morning to you all out there. It's really wonderful to have this opportunity to talk to everyone. I know that we've all missed seeing each other, engaging with each other, and it's been a very difficult year to 18 months that we've all had to just try and, sorry, I just want to take this thing off the screen, communicate with each other, keep our spirits up. And I know that at least here in KZN, we've got our networking body, Kapal, where we all try and communicate with each other. And I don't know what we would have all done without our various colleagues to give each other support. I think what I want to speak to everybody about today is not necessarily design detail, because I think we all are doing that anyway, but really more the significant impact that COVID has had on all of our businesses. Because essentially COVID was a wake-up call for all of us, wasn't it? We all suddenly found ourselves thrown into a crisis about our very existence, which is just something that I don't think any of us were prepared for. We suddenly had a focus change, which meant that we were not looking at our businesses and our normal day-to-day concerns. And all of a sudden, our focus was largely pointed at very core survival, fundamental things that mattered to us. And today, I want to really explore the results of those changes for all of us, and also, more importantly, the impact that those fundamental changes have had on our businesses. And let's not make any qualms about the fact that COVID has had a desperately sad effect on all of us and on the world. And I think we're all very aware of that. But I think what I really want to do today is look at a very positive aspect of the results of what has happened to all of us, and see how we can use those results to our benefit within this industry. So if we just look at it on a personal level, I think for each of us as individuals, we have all had to examine what was really important to us. We all ended up looking at what really mattered, because suddenly life as we knew it changed. And I know that initially we all had to not only reimagine our businesses, but reimagine our lives. And I mean, the thing that comes to mind, and I have to just say this, is that when I was preparing the speech and I thought about the day that lockdown was announced, that Sunday night, my first thought was actually of all the exhibitors building up Decorex here in KZN. And after 20 odd years of doing shows, my heart broke that night, thinking about all the people at the exhibition center doing build-up, all the passion and the planning and the investment that had gone into that show in 2020, and the fact that it wasn't going to happen. And I think sometimes we just have to really just extend that heartfelt sympathy to all those exhibitors who were put in that position, because there were many of us who were thinking of you at that time. And I think in that following week, we all were just thrown into absolute turmoil. And the result of that was that we all ended up just looking at what was really important to us. And I know for me, it was my daughter, it was our safety, it was our families, and also the time that we had with the people that really mattered to us, not being able to see people that really mattered to us. And suddenly, the importance of having time was really thrust upon us. I can honestly say for myself, and I'm sure many of you can say the same, is that through this time, we've all grown a lot. I think we've all been able to achieve a lot during a time of adversity. And I know that I've learned a lot of new skills, both digitally and otherwise, including learning to talk to a whole lot of people that I can't see. And something significant for me is that I've also become a lot more discerning about the work that I take on, because the time that I do spend with whoever I spend it with is going to be good, positive time. So whether it's my clients or suppliers, all those experiences, I look for positive experiences. And I think for me, I also feel like I've finally found a way to find balance between work and personal life. And just when you think that you're losing that balance again, suddenly you end up doing a bit of homeschooling again, or you're suddenly thrust into isolation because you've been in contact with someone who has had COVID. So we're constantly having to reassess that balance in our lives. So I think it's these new normals that we've all had to adopt. And it's been a global thing. And there's been global impacts with this. And in turn, those effects have been felt by our industry. And I really would like to explore the macro elements and how they've impacted on our industries. Now, I think for any of you, we all read a lot and we've all talked so much about everything, and we've read all the memes, and I'll stop talking with my hands. So I've tried to wade through all the discussions out there and find some key elements which I think have had the biggest impact on us as an industry. The interesting thing when I was going through all this research was really to look at it and say, well, I think in a couple of years' time, the impacts of COVID will probably end up, if not just a school subject, an entire varsity degree, because it really has had such far-reaching consequences. The first one that I want to touch on is the digital impact. And obviously for everybody, digital is now the new norm. Sorry. If this was 12 o'clock, that could have been a gin. So, I look at the fact that for people like myself and those older members in the industry, we still love to tell stories about how we used to have to pay our bills with a check, and how amazing it was when email was invented and when we were running Sajid and we no longer had to fax everybody individually, and we were able to now push a button and send an email. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who tries to actually make the noise that dial-up used to make to try and explain to my daughter what it was. But this happened instantaneously. It was a case of changing and moving into this new digital forum. It was an adapt or die situation. There was no hanging on to the past. There was no, oh, well, I'll change slowly, or I will adapt to this new normal. You had to do it in order to survive. One of the biggest things I found was that it was also now an acceptable form of communication. So whether it was with clients or suppliers, digital became the first port of call. And I think that's made a significant impact for a lot of us in terms of a time-saving aspect. Now, instead of having to run off to show a client one sample, you're able to send a WhatsApp photograph, and people are way more trusting of you over a photograph. I know just in our industry, the ability to now send a couple of photographs of different scheme options to a client before you start spending a whole lot of time putting together alternative schemes for them has been a huge time saver. So there have been huge benefits to this. The other aspect, obviously, is that it's been absolutely essential in maintaining relationships on both a social and business level. And obviously, the most significant one, which has really impacted everybody, is the social media aspect to this. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later. But this really has opened up an entire new channel of marketing resources and information resources for all of us. The second area is obviously the impacts on our planet. And I really, really hope that none of us will forget all those wonderful visuals which we all shared all over the world of the impact that we saw of us not impacting on our environment. And we will be so foolish if we don't take that incredibly important lesson away from this with us. And in our industry, we are all fully aware that it is our role to keep trying to introduce sustainable products, recycling, and working within the green environment. And I'm sure many of us are working on the green-friendly estates, and it's an exciting way forward. And it's really something that I'm very proud that our industry has, particularly here in South Africa, we really are making huge strides in terms of our contribution to the environment. The third area that I want to touch on is just, I think we all realize just how resilient we all are and how we were able to adapt to change and cope in incredibly challenging times. And we really all know about challenging times. And I cannot avoid mentioning the fact that here in KZN, we were faced with a very, very real challenge when we had the recent looting. And that was something that I don't know if the rest of you in the country even had any comprehension of, because our businesses here are still reeling from the after effects of that. We were also thrown into an entirely new avenue of fear and panic. And I just think we as human beings are just incredibly resistant and resilient. We've had to overcome so many obstacles, and us as business owners have had to be forced to think creatively and think strategically through stock issues, shipping issues, staff absenteeism. I mean, planning our schedules and production programs is just a nightmare, because from one factory to the next, they get closed down, and we just have to keep adapting. And the most important thing here, and I really, really believe this, is it's all about managing our client expectations at the moment, because we have to continually communicate with clients so that we are not letting people down. Because COVID sometimes gets regarded as a bit of an excuse. So it really is about communicating properly and allowing a little bit of flexibility within those schedules and those expectations with our clients. The primary area that I'm going to focus on now is really that lockdowns all over the world have brought our area of speciality into focus. For most of us, our clients are busy professionals, and a lot of them don't get to spend as much time at home as they have now. Many of them traveled more, they spent holidays away from home, and all of a sudden, with isolation, they were brought into a situation where they had time to focus on their homes, look at what their home needed, focus on what their dream home might be. And let's not forget the fact that instead of spending money on traveling overseas, they were now looking at spending it on upgrading their home. In some cases, we have situations where people are now either forced to work from home permanently or at least on a part-time basis. And if not just that, every time someone is thrown into isolation, they've got to still carry on and be able to work from home. So the home has become the background scene of all our, I've got Jade here, who's actually my audience. You just pay attention, because if I see you falling asleep, then I know that everybody else is out there. People are tuning out. So if you think about it, the home, or our background scene here, is really the canvas for all our interactions and all our social engagements and our social media, Instagram posts. And we found that the places that we previously thought of as just a place of accommodation is suddenly the foundation for our entire life. And suddenly what was just our area of accommodation is actually accommodating a large portion of activities that we never used to have to accommodate. We're almost creating like little mini villages in our homes, from socializing to exercising. And turning the home into a space that can accommodate literally a huge array of activities is in turn creating huge opportunities for all of us. And I'm sure that every one of you listening to me is in complete agreement. And this is where I'm saying this is ultimately where our industry is the one industry that has really we've had such a positive outcome in terms of all of this. So let's just look at some of those changes quickly. So primarily, let's start with the fact that working from home, we all have seen an increase in the need for home offices, and we're seeing a huge trend towards traditional office elements being used in the home environment. So instead of home offices looking more like furnished areas, we're using elements like soundproofing and audio panels, etc., in the home office environment. We're also seeing more dedication to social and entertainment areas so that people are able to strike that balance between work and social. And we're seeing an increased request for bars and wine cellars. And I can pretty much say, knowing, okay, I can speak for KZN, but I know that we all have somewhere in our house that is now our wine cellar, just in case that speech comes. We have seen an increase in home theatres, and I really do believe that in the future, we are going to see a variety of home theatre style rooms being done, ranging from the high-end home theatres to basic adaptations, because who knows how long the cinema industry is going to last. I spoke to someone just yesterday whose child had never been to the movies. And how long is it going to be before our children aren't going to the movies? Gyms are seeing a huge surge in popularity. And again, it's all design opportunities for us. The kitchen is really probably one of the leading areas where there's a lot of focus. People are spending a lot of time entertaining at home. It's the heart of the family home as always. And I know for us, we're doing more kitchens now than what we've done for years. And it's an exciting area of growth. I think also the other very interesting trend is the pursuit of balance between work, social, and also that need for creativity and for mental well-being. So people are looking for spaces to be creative. I'm quite sure that I wasn't the only person who, when I was told I was going to sit at home alone with my daughter for, how long was it? 4 weeks or however long. And we suddenly started running out and buying art supplies and looking at all the things that we never had time to do, but now we're going to have time. Now suddenly you have to find somewhere to do it, because all those Barbie making projects and building Barbie houses and painting and sewing suddenly needed a whole lot of space for all those hobbies. And then you suddenly found that the dining room was constantly a mess. And if you pack it all away, then you don't do it. So now we have this mess. So there's a huge move towards creating spaces for that kind of recreational activity. And it may just include an area where one can go and read, where one can just have space away from the rest of the family. But essentially, it's about mental well-being and balance within the home. Outdoor projects, I'm quite sure I don't even need to say this, but we here in South Africa were really the lucky ones. We had our gardens, we had our beautiful environment. We weren't like Trevor Noah, stuck in a flat where we were doing stupid things on balconies and waving to our neighbors. We all had amazing outdoor spaces that we could use, well, most of us anyway. But the focus on decks, entertainment areas, outdoor kitchens, pools, landscaping, it just goes on and on. But the focus is there as well. So there's huge growth in that area of the industry as well. With all these changes, though, comes a huge need now for boundaries. And this new lifestyle change within the home really needs a lot of spatial organization. It needs separations and connections, because after months of everybody trying to work and school at home, we're trying to get ourselves organized. I've got one client who's got 6 children at home who are all online schooling. When you walk in there at 10 o'clock in the morning, it is like walking into a school, but each child is on a computer and each child's got someone talking to them, and they're all sitting there with headphones. And she's incredibly organized. They even have tea break, and it's really incredible to watch. But we're trying to also find a way to divide spaces so that we can accommodate all these activities, which we didn't have to do before. And the interesting thing is that in a lot of the reading that you do, you read about overseas where they are moving away from open plan. And I've given this quite a lot of thought, because I can see the relevance of that. But I think us as South Africans, we love our open plan living. I don't see that move being as complete perhaps as other countries, because we will always want our open plan. But I think we as designers are going to need to come up with solutions where areas are able to be cordoned off. So we're going to be looking at more acoustic paneling. We're going to look at more pocket doors, more ways to conceal partitioning than we've ever had to do before, and redesigning how spaces connect to each other so that they can be partitioned off. You just take a simple thing like the entrance hall. I mean, the entrance hall was really a bit of an old-fashioned concept, wasn't it? Now it's important because it's the buffer zone. It's the buffer zone between our families and the outside world. It's where the deliveries get dropped off, where Checkers and their 60-minute service or whoever is going, or Takealot is going to do their delivery, and you can leave their parcel there for 24 hours to be sanitized or whatever it's going to do. So the entrance hall itself has got its whole new role. Homes are also turning into multi-generational habitats rather than the empty nest syndrome, which we've been talking about since, the 80s. If you think about it, instead of putting our elderly into homes or having our parents in a position where they have to go and do their own shopping, we're looking at moving them into our own homes so that we can take care of them and we can protect them and we can expose them less. So our parents are moving in with us. Then on the other side of the coin, our children in many cases, are not going to school. They are homeschooling. Then we've got the next generation, which are the students who are normally off going to varsity. Suddenly they're doing online varsity. And then let's take it one step further, because our varsity graduates, very sadly, are battling to get jobs, or they can't go overseas like they were planning to do. So suddenly, in a home now, we are accommodating everybody under one roof. And I had a very interesting discussion with a client yesterday who we're busy at the initial stages of designing her home. And she's got 3 little boys. So she's thinking like a mother of 3 little boys. And I said to her, by the time your home is built, those 3 little boys are going to be bigger. And you actually have to think about a whole new type of future-proofing your home. Because those 3 little boys might end up doing varsity online, and they might not leave home until they're 25. So you need to design a home that is not going to accommodate 3 little boys. It's going to accommodate the 4 men in your life. And that's a whole different design, isn't it? They're a lot bigger and noisier than 3 little boys. So all these aspects require different home adaptations, and they extend to everything from new architectural designs to renovations, adaptations, and of course there's a whole new market opening up in terms of furniture, because we need to accommodate all these people and all these things, and furniture's got to change, and I'm sure we're all very happy about that. So I think for us in the design and building industry, we need to focus on this complete shift in lifestyle that it's brought about. I think we need to turn our attention not only to the creative aspects of providing the solutions, but also to look at the fundamental needs that are driving the customer. Because we know, because we're all good at what we do, and we all love the fact that we've got challenges now, and we're not just churning out the same designs anymore. But what are our customers really looking for? What is really at the core of this new world that we are trying to navigate? For me personally, I believe it's going to be authenticity. It's taken a time of crisis and a time of fear and panic to make us all wake up and really look at what is important. And we've all turned to things that we can rely on. And we all need to be offering a service offering that is authentic. We need to just for a moment strip away all the glitz and the hype that the digital age has brought that is completely overwhelming, and realize what we really value is relationships. We value decent offerings and good service. We want reliability. We're also prepared to pay for something that is worthwhile. And we would rather work with someone that we trust and that's reliable and pay a bit more. It's not all about instant gratification. And I think that is where we really, really need to look hard. Because it's not just about doing business. This is going to be a time about where we need to focus on doing business well. We need to run businesses that are based on principles of value and authenticity. So everything might be a bit slower, and we might have delivery challenges. And we've got all sorts of new vulnerabilities and new variables and things that we need to just kind of work around and adapt to. Glad to see you paying attention. But I really do think that people want a return to old-fashioned craftsmanship and good quality. I think the great irony of this period is really that while we're told to embrace this new digital age and run towards it with glee and be all excited, and there's a lot of merit in embracing this digital age, we've got to see it as a platform. And we've got to manage that. We have to know that that platform that we're using is underpinned by something really essential that is focused and pure. We can't just run around putting rubbish out there. We really need to focus on offering something that at the core is about trust and about value. The way I see it is that we as designers, if I look at our specific part of the industry, we are the trusted navigators. Our clients are completely overwhelmed by the avalanche of choices on social media. This whole thing seems to initially be so empowering, but ultimately it isn't. Everyone is trying to find their look, but what they're finding is that there's this cultivated look which has just been hyped up by social media, and everybody's running around making their little Pinterest boards, but it is completely overwhelming. And I know that I'm not the only one whose client says, oh, okay, I'll just go online and look for a light. You tell me how that goes. You go online and look for a light. Because what happens, they go online and look for a light, and then they come back and they go, whoa, I need a light. So what do we become? We become the trusted navigator. We become the person who helps them make the decision, and we're the ones who add the value to their experience. We are back in the driving seat where we are helping people choose, and we are guiding them back to really good design and back to making choices that really represent themselves instead of being driven by social media and by ending up with just something contrived that they've put together on Pinterest. I think for me, that's where the really important skill of being able to engage with people is at the heart of this, isn't it? So as much as we are communicating digitally, we really need to be able to engage, and we need to be able to understand our clients, and we need to be able to communicate with them, and we need to focus on building that trust with them. Because if we don't have that, then our role is, well, it's not going to work. We honestly all need to focus on the big picture and force ourselves to look at why people want to do business with us and not the next person. And we need to focus on building value and finding value in every aspect of our businesses. We need to really focus on the things that count, and we need to take our brands, we need to make them trusted brands. We need to be trusted brands that practice sound business practice. Brands that can survive. Brands that are not going anywhere. We need to take all our history and all that experience and make it count. And now is the time that we're going to do that. There's this huge increased consideration of risk out there. And it applies to all of us. We're prepared to spend a bit more, but we want to know that that person that we're giving our money to is still going to be there, regardless of COVID and regardless of looting and regardless of any other things that might come along, because right now, who knows what's around the corner? We've got to get people to trust us and provide the quality products and the lasting relationships that they're looking for. people's expectations are higher. Our expectations of ourselves need to be higher, and we need to provide the service that people want. I really hope that we all are able to apply this in our businesses, and that we're able to go out there and be the people that create this new arena and set standards that will lead our industry in the years to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen, for sharing your passion for the industry, and a big thank you for what you do for design in South Africa. It's so wonderful to have you part of the Decorex family. Jen, we've got some questions from the audience.
I see that. They were popping up.
How do you decide on first briefing if a new client is someone you want to take on?
When you say first briefing, is this a WhatsApp message or an actual meeting? But okay, so sometimes you get a message from someone. I mean, I've had some very strange ones, particularly over lockdown, where people actually send you a message and say, "Hi, I'm buying this house and I need you to tell me whether I should buy it." And it's like Saturday night and it's 10 o'clock and you go, "Hello." So yeah, the first thing I look at is, do they respect me? Do they respect my time? And do they respect what I do? But essentially, do they respect my time? Because the person who's WhatsApping me randomly off some Instagram post at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night and expects me to tell them whether they should or shouldn't buy a house in Nambilo, no, I don't think so.
Okay, great. Next question. What are your best tips for a digital briefing?
What's a digital briefing? Jade. What's a digital briefing?
Obviously, when you're doing maybe a consult this is what I'm thinking, with a designer, with a client, and you presenting a digital, presentation of the brief. Like, do you do that, consult digitally?
I do. So I'm finding I'm actually doing a lot on video WhatsApp call. So obviously initially you say hello to the client, but then I switch the camera around and I talk them through the products and the samples and the textures and the plans as I would normally. What's been really incredible is that I've been working on a job in Pretoria. I'm currently doing a job in Zimbabwe. I mean, yesterday I had a situation where I had to tell people that I was actually on a site meeting in Zimbabwe because I had someone on site that I was talking to who was measuring stuff up, and I had to tell them what needed to be done. So it's just incredible the opportunities that have actually come out of this. So what I do with clients like the one in Pretoria, she went to the Hertex showroom in Pretoria, I went to Durban, and we pulled samples together and we put the schemes together in the two different showrooms, and that's exactly how we worked. So it's incredible, yeah. But a lot of it we do on, using video call.
So a client can call you up and say, "This is show you digitally on their WhatsApp video. This is the room we want you to design," and do it all via. It's amazing, hey, technology.
Yeah. So the house in Zimbabwe, obviously, I've got the plans for, and we've been working on those on CAD, so I'm familiar with the floor plan. But then I've had videos, and the client does video walkthroughs, and sends photographs. And it's amazing how you, especially when you've got the floor plan in front of you, you can then follow the house on the video as well.
Stunning. Are you working on any exciting projects at the moment that really
a lot? But yeah, it's really exciting just to see how we've just these new opportunities. I mean, part of the reason that I wasn't able to go to Zim was because my passport has expired. So we had that to navigate first. And then I had a contact in the passport department who was going to get my passport renewed. And then they got COVID and very sadly died. But it's like we have these challenges that happen day after day, and then the next thing it was, okay, how are we going to do this if you can't get here? So that's how we ended up doing that. So
next question. Any creative craft room design ideas for a craft room?
I'd love to hear them.
Ever designed a craft room?
I think essentially, I mean, when I look at, I think you need workspaces and you need clever storage ideas. You know, you need lots of drawers and boxes and keeping things tidy. All these bits
Tidy with good lighting, beautiful view to feel creative.
Yeah, I think it's, and also like fold out tables and, you know, things that are hinged so that you've got workspaces that you can suddenly pop up and play around with. But yeah, the lighting aspect is also a good one, because when you are doing little, you know, even with sewing, you need space.
For sure.
But it's great. It's great to see. I mean, I've loved the fact that I've been able to teach Amber to sew, and she's making little bracelets and she's doing all sorts of things that, I don't know, I think it's also because the kids are also very isolated. You know, they haven't been able to see their friends as much as they used to. So they also taking on hobbies. And I mean, it's amazing. She's learning to do things, and I say to her, get off your phone. Meantime, she's watching a YouTube video, which is actually teaching her what she's doing.
Amazing.
So, that's a tricky one to navigate, because we used to be able to say, okay, that's enough phone time. But now our children are relying on the phone for all sorts of things, including their social interaction.
Absolutely. What is the biggest design challenge that you did face in 2020 and 2021, and how did you overcome it? These on the spot.
Predicting business. I think that's crazy. Yeah, it was really about, I mean, I've got Jade here with me. We're just talking. It was really about predicting what we were going to be able to do and what we couldn't do, because also from a production point of view, you know, no sooner does one factory open, the next one goes into lockdown. And I think it was also a lot has been stock challenges. I mean, when I look at just some of the suppliers, I mean, I'm learning now, if I go into a certain place and there's stuff that I know I'm going to use on a job, I'd start buying stock and just asking them to keep it, because I don't know if they're going to get another container. There's definitely a shortage of particularly high-end products. There's a lot of mass market product, but the really high-end niche stuff, we're battling to get. And so I think buying patterns have changed, and you're having to anticipate what jobs you might be doing and when are you going, and I mean, not even knowing. I mean, I think even last year we didn't even know whether we were going to do shutdown over Christmas, because we'd lost so much time last year. That was annual shutdown even a realistic thing to consider, because, you know, who could afford to actually stop working in December? Absolutely. So, I think the unpredictability of it all was really quite a big challenge.
Well done for overcoming it. Next question. How do you help your client get past digital fatigue through your designs? So everything's so digital and not so much touch.
You mean this is what I'm saying, is that you know, there's just everybody's completely overwhelmed, and I don't think one has to do it consciously, because I think realistically we've always all been doing that. I mean, what is the difference? I mean, I used the example of lighting earlier. I remember going into the first lighting warehouse in Johannesburg. You must remember that in Durban, we don't have massive showrooms like that. I remember going to that first lighting warehouse when it opened and going, how do you even choose? But somehow you do, because you define your choices by your parameters, and those are design parameters. So you just apply those same principles. So you go, what is the space? What do we need? What are the things defining our design parameters? And look for that thing. don't look at all the options and don't look at what everybody else is doing. Look at what works for your design.
Great. We've got 2 more questions, I think. As a newbie to the industry, how do we add value to our offering in the time of influencers and Instagram?
Well, my question to you is, what is an influencer, and what is it all really about? I mean, yes, we have an Instagram page, and we try and I still remain focused on showing people what you can and can't do with space, because I think this whole like influencer thing is, I think people can get a bit caught up in it, to be really honest. So I think that's why I say you need to look at digital as a marketing platform, and you need to manage it. Don't go out there and try and be what everybody else is being. I mean, I was talking to a young girl the other day who I know, and I said, "Oh, you should follow me on Instagram." I said, "I've got 1,000 followers." And she went, "Oh, I've got 2,600. So I said, "Oh, why? Why do you have 2,600 followers?" She said, "Oh no, because I'm an influencer." And yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk out of turn, but I wasn't quite sure when I went onto her profile what exactly it was that she influenced. So I think one has to really navigate your own way through this and say, what are you trying to do with these platforms? What are you trying to say? Because you want to say something. Don't just be out there doing random stuff, and use it as a proper marketing tool and manage it. And focus. You know, don't just be posting, you know, random stuff like yourself with a tree as hair. Just saying.
Our last question as we wrap up is advice for new designers on how to get started and get noticed. 20 years ago, you started out at Decorate. How did they?
Yes, and Boyd Ferguson thought I was very cute because I was wearing a Stetson and a T-shirt with my name on it. But it worked, didn't it? You just got to go out there and be different. And I think at the end of the day, what we've all got to remember, and you know, I'm going to use the simple elements of how you dress. We all know that leisure wear is now the new wear. But if you are looking for a designer, are you not going to look at how they present themselves? So what I'm saying to you is set yourself apart. Be the person who actually presents themselves in a way that you come across as a designer. Be a designer. Take that old-fashioned principle of being an example of what you are.
I love that.
I mean, I'll never forget, somebody actually sat down at my desk when I was still working at Bon on Holiday, and she looked at me and she said, "If your nails look like that, I'd love to know what you will do with my house." Wow. I thought it was the funniest thing anyone ever said to me. But you know, every single little element about you says a lot. So before you go out to see a client in your tracksuit pants and your Ugg boots, think again.
Oh, Jane, thank you. You really have parted with us with a lot of information, beautiful inspiration and passion, and we really have enjoyed having you. Enjoy celebrating your 20 years of being in the industry, and we wish you another 40, 50, 60 years of success.
Good heavens, can you imagine how old I'm going to be? Although I've decided I'm going to end up like Iris Apfel.
Love it. Absolutely.
Well, we're really looking forward to having the first DecoRex back here in KZN next year. And for our KZN members, I'm very happy to tell you that we have got a couple of exciting Kapow events lined up. So we're just putting those together, but we are definitely looking forward to seeing everybody again, and just being able to get ourselves all back on track. And just while I have this opportunity, there's someone very special to all of us in KZN, Linton from Leisure Lounge, Linton Lloyd, who I know is watching in isolation in Cape Town, and I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday today. We all miss you a lot.
Thanks, Jane. Sending love.
Lots of love.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Don't miss our next talk, our last one for the design talks this year, and it will be with green architecture. We'll be talking green architecture presented by the Osmond Lange Architects team, and it's sponsored by Samsung. So we'll see you back here for our last talk at 1 o'clock. Thanks, guys.